So one of the tricky things about running or hosting any sort of service on your own home network is figuring out how am I going to connect to these things when I'm not at home. So imagine this frustration. You drop Dropbox and you install Nextcloud at home, and when you're at home all your devices are syncing and it runs super smooth, but then there comes that day that you go and you edit a Dungeons and Dragons script on your desktop computer, and you grab your laptop and you want to go to your friend's house and show them how how cool you are, but then that script isn't there. It's still sitting on the server at home because the laptop was off and it didn't have a chance to sync. Well, there's a common way to fix this. If you look online, what people say is that you just need to get onto your router and do some port forwarding so that when you hit your public IP address, it passes over to your server, and that could work, except public IP addresses can change. So then you need to go and sign up to a dynamic DNS provider who will keep that in sync for you. But they need you to install a client on your server so that it can then ping them to do the update, so that it can be a bit much. It's doable, it all works if you want to do things that way. It's just a little bit complicated, and also depending on what you are hosting at home and how security conscious you are, you might not necessarily want to have certain things facing the public internet for people to see or be able to maybe even try and get into. Maybe that's not something you're wanting to take a risk on. So I'm going to introduce you guys to a solution that I use, a product that I use that I really like, called ZeroTier. Now ZeroTier works really, really well, and as I've been rebuilding Alfred, my home server, that's what we've been going to be installing here and how we're going to be accessing its services when I'm not at home. So I'm going to jump onto my computer and we can have a look at it there. Let's go. Alright, first question. Right, if you haven't heard of ZeroTier before, you're asking, what is ZeroTier? Well, ZeroTier.com is the website that we're going to be going to. It will be down in the description, and that's where we're going to kick all of this off. This is how we're going to do everything. If you go to there, it says securely connect any device anywhere. That's exactly what we want to do. We want to be able to connect all of the things together on our network. Now, if you read further down here, it says ZeroTier combines the capabilities of a VPN and SD-WAN, simplifying network management. Now, if you don't know what that means, let me just explain this very quickly to you. A VPN is something that we've come to understand for some reason, that if I'm here in South Africa and I want to make it look like I'm in America, I install a VPN, and then because I look like I'm in America, I can watch American Netflix. That's not what this VPN is for, and that's not necessarily what VPNs are meant to be for, right? A virtual private network, or a VPN, is a network that is not physically connected to one another, but is connected over it's a private network that is connected over the internet using secure connections, and it is virtual. So it doesn't exist on a physical layer, it exists in a virtual layer. Again, that might be a little bit too much for you. SD-WAN is software defined wide area networking, which also might be much, but basically, let me explain it to you this way. We use VPNs to connect things to each other over the internet using secure protocols, so that no one else can really see what's going inside of those tunnels, those encrypted tunnels that we create. And we're going to use ZeroTier to act as our VPN, so that when my phone is not connected to my Wi-Fi, it is still connected via the mobile internet, and it is creating a secure connection between my phone and my servers, so that I can still connect to my actual things here at the house. That's what we're using this for, right? The cool thing about SD-WAN is that you not only have a VPN to make those connections, you can define the type of connections and the type of traffic that is allowed to flow. So if you want to block certain things from going in and out, or you want certain hosts to not be able to talk to other hosts, you can do that using SD-WAN. That's a little bit too much for what we're going to be talking about today. That's a little bit out of scope, but that's what you can use ZeroTier for. So the really cool thing, if you want to read more, you can go to the support and you can go to the manual. And here the manual, it explains everything I've just said, basically. A whole bunch of other things. It goes into a lot of detail about like how to do security, how they do their cryptography, how they do multi-parts. There's a lot here. So I'm not going to read this to you. You can go ahead and read all of this yourself. There's some very good details here about how to do QoS and things like that. And then if you want even more details, you go to support, and then you go to the knowledge base, and it takes you to the knowledge base, which really goes off to like, how do I join a network? How do I leave a network? Why can't I ping things? Everything that's a little bit technical, you're going to find here. And that's going to be super helpful if you need to go through these things. So I've got some open here, some tabs that you can see here to do with router configurations. How do we make sure that things are running properly? There's some of the commands down there. If we want to bridge two networks together using ZeroTier, can we do that? Yes. Here's an article on how to do that. And then how do we route between our physical network and our private network? So I can have my ZeroTier acting as a router, and I connect to it and it gets me to the rest of my network. Again, a little bit out of scope about what we're going to talk about, but if you want some more in-depth explanations and demonstrations of how to use ZeroTier, I'm happy to do that. Hit me up in the comments below, and I'll go through better ways of how to set up these kind of niche, little bit more technical examples of ZeroTier. So again, if you want more of that, let me know. We can do some videos on it. Ask me questions. I'm happy to help answer how to use ZeroTier for these kind of things. Moving on, I'm going to explain to you how we install this on my Windows computer, how we install this on the server, how we install this on a tablet running Android, and how we get all of those things to talk to each other so that when I'm not at home, I can then use my mobile provider's internet to create the secure tunnel so that I can connect and get to things on my server. You with me? That's exactly what we need to be able to do. We're not at home and able to connect to our servers. This is how we're going to do it. So the first thing that you actually need to do, the most common idea is, oh, we're just going to go ahead and click on download, right? Not necessarily. If I want to actually do something, I first need to go ahead into step 1 and create a ZeroTier account. And I'm going to use that to create basically a virtual controller. And that virtual controller is going to be the place that all our things call into and how it then starts to establish connections to each other. It's a 16-digit network ID that we need to have to join to the same network. And to join to that network, you have to have created that network. Okay? Makes sense? If you need to join a network, you have to have a network that exists. So let's get to that. Alright, so step 1 in this whole process is we have to create an account with ZeroTier to create the network that we're going to be joining everything to. Now don't worry, ZeroTier account is going to be free. Unless you have more than 50 devices, then you're going to have to pay, but the pricing is reasonable, and for what we're doing, we're going to be able to stick to the free tier without any problems. Okay, so go ahead and click up on the sign up button here at the top right of the screen. It'll take you to a page where you can type in some information. So things like, your first name, like, and your second name, and subscribe. See what I did there? Give it an email address, give it a password. Once you've registered, it will send you an email to confirm your information. And once you've confirmed all your information, then you should be good to go. It will take you to a page called ZeroTier Central. This orange button over here will get super excited and it'll be shaking because it's welcoming you. And you go ahead and you click on that and it will create an account for you. I've already done that, so that's where we are so far. And then you click on the network ID to load that. You can have multiple networks if you really wanted to. We're just focusing on one at the moment. So once your network is created, you'll see a few things, right? So here you go, you can name it whatever you want. This network ID is the important thing. That is what we're actually after here. That's what we're going to be joining all our devices to. That's going to be the name of our network essentially. The network ID, or should I say, this is the name. Description. So if you have multiple networks and you want to just have a description to say this is for this part of the house or that's for this thing, whatever. Like let's say you have one where you join for like all your friends to play games, because you can do that with local network games. But I would rather use Steam Remote Play, but that's another video. Here at the bottom you'll see access control, private or public. By default it is set to private. Leave it on private unless for whatever reason you want to create a public network that anyone with this network ID can join. I wouldn't recommend that as a security thing. Keep it on private, so then when a node joins or another device tries to join your network, you have to log in and you have to allow it onto your network first, right? Then over here you can see manage routes. Again, this goes into something a little bit more technical than what you need to worry about now. The virtual controller or this network system that you've already set up will do the automatic routing for you between all your devices, so you don't have to worry about that. You want it to auto assign IP addresses for you, and over here you can choose what kind of IP address you want to use. Now, important for you to realize is over here you can see it's 10.147.17 star. That means it will join this part of the network. If you see like just below it where it says 10.1. Sorry, that says 10.144. That means those 2 stars mean the amount of IP addresses allocated. Again, this is not a networking explanation video. If you want an explanation on how IPv4 addresses work, we can do that. Not something we need to worry about now. Just keep it on whatever it is normally. Just need to be 192.168.196. In my example, it will be different for you, star. So make sure the last one in those dots is the star, nowhere else. Otherwise, there's too many IP addresses. You don't need a big range for what we're setting up here. 50 IP addresses in something like that or something like this is going to be good. Might be helpful in case you do any sort of complex networking already. Make sure the IP address that it's going to be giving out here is not an IP address that is on any of your networks already. So if for whatever reason you've got 192.168.193 or 194 already in your network, don't put this on the same thing or you'll cause conflicts. Conflicts don't end well for networking. You need to have just some clarity on making sure you've got the same thing there. If you want to give it your own, you can do some advanced stuff by clicking on over here. We're not going to get into that yet. IPv4 assignments is also not going to be needed. And pretty much anything down here, if you want to do DNS that requires 1.6, the version of the client, again, not something we necessarily need to worry about, and you'll see that why later. And over here is where you'll normally see members. No one's joined our network yet. So it's sad and lonely. We'll fix that soon. And down here is kind of where the SD-WAN kind of thing comes in, because here we can start defining rules about how things connect in and out and what is allowed through the network. Again, nothing we really need to worry about. For the purpose of this video, we're not going to get into that, but there's some cool things you can do there. Flow rules again, and as you scroll through, you can again see all this information. This correlates back to what we have in our knowledge bases. But again, nothing you need to worry about here. If you need more than one person to be the admin of this, that's when you start having to pay. It's only me that's looking after this VPN system, so I'm the only one who's going to have to worry about that. And the big red button over here to delete your network, which we'll be clicking on later. Like I said, we're not going to be keeping this. This is just a temporary network that I'm using to show you guys how everything works. So let's get back to everything that we need. We've created our network ID. So we've got our virtual controller set up. The next thing that we need to do is we need to install this, and we're going to install that on Xubuntu. So that is phase 2 of this video. So I'm going back to the download page, and you'll see here it has little icons for all the different things that it can be connected to. You can download our Windows one, you can download it on Mac OS if you want to, on your Android, iOS, Linux, etc. So as you scroll down here, you'll see all the different installation packages that we need. We're scrolling down to Linux, the Debian package, because that's what Xubuntu runs on, which is what is running on our server. And we're going to go ahead and do that. So you might think the first thing that we need to do is actually just copy here and paste that into our terminal. You might be right, except the first thing you actually need to do, and here you'll see it pop up on my screen, is my little terminal. And that little terminal here is going to be where the first thing that we actually need to type in is going to be curl, which doesn't come by default in our Ubuntu package. So sudo apt install. I think I've made a typo there, so let me fix that. Sudo apt install curl. Once a password, let it go ahead and do that. While it does that, I'm going to copy exactly as we see it here, curl -s, the install website for ZeroTier, and then throw that over to bash, right? So copy paste. Can I paste that? There we go. Click enter. And there we go. Now if you want to, you can read here how it does it. For our purposes, because we're running Debian, this is going to work fine. Once it's installed, then we can move over to the next thing, which is actually to join it. So just give it a sec to install there, and I'm just going to switch the light on because it's getting a little bit dark in this room. Okay, so I realized there, my bad, that you probably couldn't see exactly what I was typing in the terminal because it's a little bit small. So hopefully you can see things better now. As you can see, things have actually gone ahead and installed, and success, your ZeroTier address, and this address here is actually the ID of the device you've just installed it on. So it's basically the node's name on the network. Okay, it's just how we identify things on the network, so we know what is what. So the next step after you've done the download is to go ahead and type in the join command. So that's ZeroTier-CLI space join, and then this long string here, you might be like, what the heck, how am I supposed to remember that? That's super easy. It is the network ID again of the network that you've created. So just copy and paste and hit enter. And I typed something in wrong there. Oh wait, you have to have sudo. As always, you need sudo when you're doing stuff. Join OK 200. Now, I'll give it a second, but if I just refresh this page a few times here, once it's finished reloading, we just scroll down the page and you eventually reach this part here that says, it's in yellow and it says, one device has joined the network. A ZeroTier network should have at least 2 members. Now obviously, one node joined to the network doesn't mean anything. It's just one device connected to the network by itself. It's like sitting at the lunch table by yourself. It's lonely. Anyway, here's the device that we've just been dealing with. That is the node ID for our Xubuntu server. I'm going to go ahead and tick the little box here to authorize it, and I can give it a short name, so this is just helpful for us to know what is what. And if I wanted to, I could give it another description. Xubuntu, right? Over here it says managed IPs, so our network range is 192.168.196, and if I wanted to, I could give it a dedicated IP on this range. Otherwise, I'll just leave it, which is what I'm going to do now. So that's one. Okay, now obviously, like it says here, we need more than one member, and for what we're trying to design here is to have all my devices talking to each other when I'm not at home and I've got roaming devices. I need to join the ones that are going to be out of the house to this one, which is going to be based inside the house. So next, let me just show you the installation on a Windows box, and then we will do it on a Android device. So then we've at least covered three types of devices that you will probably be installing this on. So let's cut over to my Windows install and we can have a look at it there. Okay, so we're here back on my Windows box, and what we're going to do is you're just going to go back to where we originally started, zerotier.com/download. This is Windows, so we're just going to scroll down, look for the MSI installer, which I already have, but it is over here. You click on that, save it to a location, and then you will get the install. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on install. Okay, skipping ahead there with the install process, I'm sure you guys are familiar with how to install things on Windows. That's done and dusted. Just as a side note, if you are running a firewall on a different device or you have it on your computer, make sure that you are allowing ZeroTier to connect to the internet via your firewall. If your firewall blocks it, then none of this is going to work, right? So keep that in mind. You are creating a connection to the internet back into the network controller, so you have to allow that through your firewall. Okay. Just a side note, this is very easy to kind of illustrate here, so I want to explain this to you. You'll see here on my screen I've got my network connections open. So I've got my Ethernet, which is my normal standard one on my computer, and a VirtualBox one here, which is how I run networky stuff for my VMs. When you're running ZeroTier, you'll see another one pop up here with ZeroTier in the name, most likely, and that is how ZeroTier works. It is creating a virtual network device in your computer, and it is routing all the traffic through that back into the network controller interface. And so it's helpful to see it here because it might just help you better picture what we're doing here. We're creating a network, so you'll have network card associated to it, and you can see that better in Windows than you can see it in the CLI of where we were earlier. So I just wanted to point that out to you, and if you see it pop up, now you know what's there. Now the cool thing about this Windows install is that you get a little GUI called ZeroTier 1, and that's kind of helpful. It runs at the bottom right of your screen, or orange icon, and you can manage the different networks. If you're on multiple ones, you can switch between them, And so let me just run you through that very quickly. Again, everything I'm going to show you now, you can manage through a command line interface. So if you'd rather just open up command prompt and go ahead and type in your stuff there, by all means you can do it. The way that we joined on Linux is the same that we joined here if we were using the command prompt. But some people prefer GUIs, so I'll run you through how that works here. So if I open up the preference screen, you'll see here the little tick box. I like to tick that, make sure that I can launch ZeroTier on startup. It's just helpful for me to kind of look down, see that everything started, because the icon will be there. Your central instance will always be the my.zerotier.com unless you've done some really customized thing, which you're probably not going to be watching this video if you've done that, because this is a basic install of it. The other option here just above that is about. So we're currently on 1.6.4. There is a 2.0 that is due to come out soon with a whole bunch of extra features, but as of this current install, that's the latest version that we can run. And you should just check the website every once in a while, see that you're on the latest version, update if you're not, just to, general software hygiene is to make sure that you're on the latest version that you can be on. So do that. 2.0 does have some cool features, but we're not going to cover that here now because it is currently in beta, and running this in beta is not something I'm doing at the moment. If we go ahead and click on ZeroTier Central over here, it will open up the login page so that we can get back in and look at what we've looked at earlier. If we go to show networks, there's nothing to show because we're not joined to anything. And if we go to join network, this little box will pop up. Let me move that over here. And this is what we can use to just join. So instead of typing the whole thing in via command prompt, we can just use this little interface here. So none of these tick boxes you need to worry about. The default is perfect for the way that we're going to be using ZeroTier. But if you wanted to manage DNS in a particular way, you can do that here. And so how do we join? Well, just go ahead and type in our network ID or your network ID, and that should be all you need to do. You just click on join and away we go. Okay, so that's the install here. I'm not going to jump into the login instance now to do that. I'm going to go ahead and install the same application on Android, and then when we're on Android we can look at both at the same time. We'll just join both there, and then we can do a demo of all of them talking to each other. Cool. So that's the next part. Let's do an Android install now. So as you can see, there's a tablet in my hand here. I'm just unlocking it right now and making sure we've got a good rotation so that you guys can see decently on the screen there. Hopefully that's big enough. Can't make it too much bigger, sorry guys. Clicking on the Play Store, we just go ahead and we type in ZeroTier, ZeroTier 1, there you go, same little orange icon. Click on install. I've already done that to save us some time, and we should be good to go. Bottom of the screen right over here, you can see it says 1.6.4, so we're on the same version. That's good. Option, click on add network, and what do we have? We have a network ID. Now by the magic of my clipboard, I can copy paste the same network ID that we've been using this whole time. If you can't do that, you're going to have to write it out this time. Click on done. Same options here, route all traffic through this or just some traffic. I'm not going to route every single piece of traffic directly through this because this acts as a VPN on a phone. That's how it understands it. No DNS needs to be configured. None of this needs to be done. Just click on add network. Add network. And it will say network unknown. If we go into settings here, use cellular data, I'm going to click on yes. You don't have to do that. Obviously, if you are just going to be running this on Wi-Fi wherever you are, that'll be fine. If your device doesn't support cellular, that's not going to matter, but this is going to be installed on things like my phone and like my tablet, so whenever I'm out and I'm using mobile data, the idea is that I can still connect. Okay, so that's that, and we're done. I'm going to click this little slider here so it actually goes ahead and joins it. You'll get asked, are you sure you want to do that? Click on OK, and you'll see on your screen a little lock should normally pop up, and then that should be it. We're going to jump back into our my ZeroTier instance, and then I'll show you all the devices that we already joined, and I'm just going to permit those, and then I can show you a good demonstration of how this all works together. Alright, so we're back here in ZeroTier Central. If you've been like me, just randomly going ahead and adding a whole bunch of devices, and you left this page open, right click, do a refresh, make sure your data is up to date. And as we scroll down here, you'll probably notice that we do not have a yellow bar anymore. It is gone. Why is that? Well, because we have more than one device. What I'm doing now is I'm ticking these boxes here to allow more than the one device on our network. I'm giving them names. I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to see the node IDs here, but I would recognize these node IDs. Your devices all have a separate node ID. If you look at your devices by the status CLI or by any actual GUI, you'll spot it. So you can identify what you have. You also see here the managed IP addresses it's been given. And over here also mostly blurred, but you can see this physical IP address ends on 171 and this one ends on 91. Those are my public facing IP addresses, so I'm not going to share those with you now. Okay, that's it. They're all set up. They can all talk to each other now. So let me give you a demo of what it is like when they talk to each other and how we can test that those all working. So one of the easiest ways to always check if your network traffic is flowing is to use a ping request. You can do this on Linux, you can do this on Windows. I'm using the IP addresses that ZeroTier has given to our devices to test that the ZeroTier connectivity is working, right? So ping 192.168.196, and then I'm going to choose I'm going to do the tablet and the Windows box. Now these IP addresses will be different for you depending on what ZeroTier has allocated to you or what you've chosen. In my case, this is the group that I have. 192.168.196.123 is my tablet. Does that respond? Yes, it does. Great. Let's go ahead and try the Windows box, and that responds. So I'm confident. I know that my ZeroTier traffic is routing between all my different devices. This is a very easy way to see that that's working. One of the other ways that I can demonstrate this to you is to set up a very quick version of Nextcloud and show you on my tablet how I connect back into my home network and access my Nextcloud stuff. Again, I know this video might be getting a bit long at this point, but this is the best way that I can show you this, and it is, once you've seen the demo, hopefully that helps you to understand things better. And again, this is for me very exciting because I have a secure way of connecting into the network and syncing my data without exposing that publicly, because all of this data is encrypted. Okay, so let's do a quick demo of connectivity via ZeroTier to my Nextcloud instances. Don't worry, there's a Nextcloud video coming as well. This is just a quick run through to make sure everything's working. Okay, first things first, what we need to do is go ahead and take note of this IP address here. That's what the IP address we're going to be connecting to test this Nextcloud thing. Now, there are some configs that have to be done. I'm skipping right over that. There is going to be a Nextcloud video on this series eventually, but here you go. You can see I'm logged in. There's nothing important sitting here at the moment. Let me jump over to the tablet and you can have a look at it there. Okay, so here on the tablet, I'm just going to go into Nextcloud. Asks me to log in. I'm going to type in the IP address of the server. It's going to go ahead and test the connection. And there we go. Okay, it's going to jump us through all things. We have to log in to verify that we are allowed to be here. And you will see the same stuff. We're going to grant ourselves access on the tablet, and you'll see the same stuff. Now note, while this is happening over here, top right, none of this is being done by my Wi-Fi. It's all being done by mobile data connection. So again, to my cell phone provider via ZeroTier back into my own network. And the same stuff is available here. So let me go ahead and just create something. Okay, so I went ahead and created this document over here quickly, and nothing going to be in there, but if we go back to the server, Okay, here we are on the server after creating a document on the tablet, and we're just going to refresh it, and there's our document. Please like this video, and we can go ahead and create another document. And subscribe. Now, because we're doing this on the thing, it's going to, I typed subscribe terribly wrong, by the way. We're not going to actually add anything to it. There we go. And let's go back to, let me switch back over to the tablet. And as we refresh the page here, I can already see it, but like this video and subscribe. Those are two documents that we were trying to sync. We can see them here, and that's how I'm going to end this video. Like this video, subscribe. If you've enjoyed your time here, let me know if there's questions about ZeroTier down in the comments. I'll be happy to answer those, or on Twitter. Until the next video, I hope you enjoyed this. This is the best way I can see to have secure internet connections back into my home network. I hope you found this video helpful, but I will catch you guys in another one soon. Until then, live long and rock on. It's basically like being that one kid sitting alone at the lunch table by himself, just like me. I'm kidding. I don't have a lunch table.